Hey YouTube, it's episode 6. Hey guys, I sold a painting and I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited that I got invited to Yosemite. So we did what we did best and destroyed our stomachs before me and Scott hit the road. You know, I was born in California, but for some reason I've always seemed to avoid Yosemite. Scott wanted to veer off the road, but I suggested that we do that another day. We stopped at this town that I have already forgotten the name of that had this giant teapot as a water tower. We saw a flower shop across the street and wanted to go see it, but the form of currency that they accepted made us a little nervous, so we left. My name was plastered all over this little town and I got anxiety looking at wedding dresses. I honestly don't know what's scarier, getting married or getting creamed. I mean that in a YouTube-friendly way, of course. I really like figurines because they're the cuter version of creepy dolls, and this freak boy right here really captivated my heart. I wish I had bought it, but I know my mother would be proud to know that I didn't waste my money on some more crap. When Scott went to the counter to pay for something, the cashier was nowhere to be found, and when I thought about it, this whole town was pretty empty. And it was also Labor Day, so there's that. We got the hell out of there because we had a very important stop that was coming up. Fresno, California, but more importantly where my friend Cran lives. It had been a long time since I had last seen my friend Cran, but I was happy to see that he still looked like somebody that I could take in a fight. We were all being indecisive and ended up picking a place that didn't even serve food. So we tried again next door and put in our name for a table. While Cran and Scott were thinking about how they wish they had girlfriends, I noticed this hole in this barrel in front of me. I imagined a small man was inside the barrel, staring at me, staring at him. We sat down at this booth and I thought about how a person on a diet ordering the beach bod fried rice would feel having to say that out loud. The place and food made it feel like a glorified Panda Express, but that's exactly what I want when I'm in Fresno. I could not believe what I would see next. A robot that transports food to your table. The robot was so adorable, I almost forgot about the millions of people that will start to lose their jobs because of them. The thing I was most excited to eat on my plate was the crab rangoons. I wish it was more acceptable to eat 20 rangoons and nothing else. I got a fortune that I was quite pleased about, and before I knew it, it was time to go. It wasn't hard to say goodbye to Cran because he sucks. I really love traveling through these bum towns that I'll never live at. There's something kinda nice about a place with no cell reception and a bunch of fields. The drive was really nice because we spent an equal amount of time speaking and not speaking. I think it's really important to find the balance. While we were driving, I made an offhanded comment about how I had seen an ostrich pass by and that I wish I could have taken a closer look. Scott turned the car around and we were able to get a closer look at the ostrich. I felt like the ostrich looked like it was in poor condition, but what do I know? I'm not a bird scientist. The ostrich got closer and closer to me and I thought about ways that I could sneak it into Scott's car. I don't feel like I had ever appreciated ostriches in the past, but I can confidently say that I'm a changed woman. But alas, we had to keep moving. With only an hour left to go, we were able to see a wild boat and then stopped at a gas station. I love gas stations in the middle of nowhere because they always sell something weird, and this one sold exotic game jerky. I didn't really want to get anything, but I did want to wiggle my legs around. I saw very strategically placed vegetables, and I swear I didn't do it because I'm not 12 years old anymore. I wish I had used the bathroom at the gas station because suddenly I had to go. Little did I know I wouldn't be going to the bathroom for the next 3 days because I don't like taking dumps around other people. We finally got to the cabin and I wanted to see what we were working with. I was so grateful that I decided to invite myself onto this trip. And I know they wouldn't have survived without me. Now that we had finally arrived, I started thinking about what it was that I was going to paint, and when exactly was I going to be inspired to paint. I know that these are just painting videos that take forever to get to the painting part, but hey, I am an artist and this is my process. They both complained about the size of the shower, but it was the perfect size for me. The upstairs was really cool, and there was this unfinished deck we weren't allowed to go on because they didn't want us to fall and die. But that didn't mean there weren't any other dangerous activities we could do. Like this zip line we found that is definitely made for people 13 and under. But when you're almost 30, you do things to convince yourself you're younger than you actually are. However, I wouldn't ride it again. This dude in the orange who worked on the property proceeded to tell us very detailed stories about people dying in Yosemite. Like, that is literally all he talked about. We planned on going on a hike the next day, so I took a shower and then did regular stuff on my phone before I fell asleep. I woke up at 6 a.m. for the first time since high school, and I learned what poached eggs are and that I kind of liked them. So, fun fact, the cabin wasn't actually in Yosemite, it was actually 2 hours away. So we had to drive 2 hours just to get there. After a bit of questionable driving, we came across these plaques that I was going to make fun of until I read them, and then I started to feel bad. They were after people who died trying to save the forest, and I think that's pretty cool. I know I'm not the best at recycling, but I do hope that the earth doesn't completely go to shit someday. We had to take a tram to get to the hiking spot, but for some reason I forgot to film while I was on it. We decided to do one of the easier hikes and make it over to a place called Glacier Lake. It sounded awesome, and doing a hike that ends in a lake seems like a prize in itself. You truly cannot capture the beauty that is Yosemite. Even with as many tourists as there were everywhere, everybody was super nice, so it didn't seem like a problem. It's almost like they go outside. The closer I got to the waterfall, the more I thought about how stupid it would be to get super close to it. Water is such a strong force. Like, if this dog fell in, he'd be finished. The closer you get to it, the more people you see about to sacrifice themselves. It's amazing, but that's close enough for me, buddy. It was time to continue our hike to Glacier Lake. I was extremely intimidated by this forest and wondered if I would struggle to capture it in a painting, because I still remembered that I had to do that. But then I heard my favorite sound, the sound of clopping. We stumbled upon horses and donkeys, I think. I'm not entirely sure. They all look like horses to me, but I was corrected by some nerds that I was stuck with. I could tell that they all liked my vibes the most out of the three of us, and that's all that mattered to me. It was the confidence booster that I needed. I wanted to take one of these Dorses home with me, but then I remembered I live in a one-bedroom apartment and have a territorial cat. We continued our hike to Glacier Lake, and I pretended the whole time that I wasn't struggling at all. I think it was fairly believable. One of the trails was closed off and we had to take a detour, but then we finally made it to Glacier Lake. Just kidding, it's a puddle, but it's not that far off. We found some walking sticks and I continued to befriend every animal that I could find. The animals were obsessed with me and I was obsessed with them. We finally made it to the lake, and while it was kind of ugly, it was a place to sit down, and for that I'm very grateful. The water was about 2 degrees, and I'm surprised I didn't leave with hypothermia. When you're on a vacation, it's easy to know if you're happy or sad, because whatever you actually are, you'll be able to feel on a vacation. And I feel like this was the first time in a while that I wasn't really worried about anything back home. I was kind of excited about the trip and excited to go back. I don't know, I just feel like I'm in a good place with painting right now, as dumb as that is to say. It's easy to have a very complicated relationship with the things that you make or like to make. I also think being outside and away from the internet is just good for everybody, honestly. On the walk back, I learned that speeding kills bears, so next time you're thinking about doing 90 in a 75 zone, think about who you're killing. These little freaks were loitering around the pizza cafe as if they were just gonna get free handouts. I love going on a hike and then eating twice as many calories as I burned. And that was the end of day 2. As lovely as the hike was, I was excited to get back to the cabin. We drove another 2 hours home, but not without stopping at the supermarket to pick up a couple things we needed. Scott was going to make us baked potatoes the next day, and we were also planning on making an apple pie that night. I did most of the work, but unfortunately the apples we had were kind of disgusting. I didn't realize how easy it was to make an apple pie, but also how easy it was to make a disgusting one. But when you're desperate to have dessert, you're gonna take the odds anyways. I want you to know that none of the faults in this pie were mine. When you mess a recipe up, it's very easy to get depressed about it, especially if it's a recipe you tried out for the first time after a crappy day at work or after somebody hit your car. But we're on vacation, so even a bad apple pie is still pretty good. I proceeded to clap them at Mario Party, so I was a winner regardless. Breakfast the next day looked like dog food, but I promised I would never eat dog food on camera. And then just like that, another 2 hours back to Yosemite, but not without stopping at these little picture spots. I saw this woman playing games on her phone and I thought that was beautiful. I definitely didn't mind the drive because of how scenic it was, and I definitely didn't mind them carrying my stuff because I hate carrying stuff. We walked for a while before I decided on a place that I wouldn't feel awkward painting at. This was the setup, and this was the view, which is exactly what I was going to try to paint. I stuffed my paint water cup into my shoe and immediately got started. Scott also got me a can of wine, so I was feeling amazing. I really am turning into my mother. I decided to use a smaller canvas because I feel like if I'm going to paint for like 4 hours, I could get a lot done on a small canvas. Otherwise, it's going to be unfinished, and I really want to finish it while I'm here. I always get scared when I start a painting because I want it to look exactly the way it looks in my head, and I'm always afraid that I'm going to mess that up. My advice for you is to turn into a little bimbo and stop thinking. As long as you keep painting, eventually it's going to look like something. At least that's what I've learned. I'm really glad that the sky was empty because it meant I didn't have to paint any clouds. My friend let this creature full of violence crawl all over him, and I wondered why he wasn't scared, but then I remembered that he bought a bracelet that apparently had strong psychic abilities. I hoped the ant would bite him, but it didn't, so I got back to painting. I started painting the waterfall and stretched my neck like a giraffe every 2 seconds to look at it. I forgot that when you're painting something in front of you, you can't move, and didn't realize I had sat in a very sunny spot, so I was starting to broil like a lobster. This was definitely one of the best places I had ever painted, and I looked to my right and I noticed that my friend had passed away. No matter, I had to trudge forward. I usually go crazy with colors, but I was trying to be really accurate this time. I was hungry, so Dakota made me a sandwich with way too much meat on it, but I didn't say anything because it was a nice gesture. I pretty much only like one slice of meat at a time. I went over the painting a million times until the colors actually looked right. The clouds came in, so I did the painting a favor and ended up drawing some clouds anyways, but this is what it ended up looking like, and I'm pretty happy with it. I added my signature to the painting so it'd be worth billions of dollars one day. And if Don the construction worker was right and I'm gonna die in some crazy way here, I think this painting will end up way more valuable. We drove another 2 hours home and I thought about how I probably wouldn't be back here for a long time. Thank you guys for always supporting my artistic endeavors. I hope I can keep painting in cool places and get better at painting. I wanted to do something nice for the cabin since it had done so many nice things for me. So I organized all the movies under the TV by genre, and I made it back home. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would love if you joined my Discord. Goodbye. Do not put anything other than human waste and regular toilet paper in this toilet, or you will have major problems.
You know, I didn't know about all the deaths up here. There's a lot of disappearances and deaths and stuff, but millions of people visit the park, so there's a really good chance y'all will come out of it alive.
Good. We don't want to die here.